Hey there guys, how's it going? Quick post-fight review. So yeah, I just got done watching Manny Pacquiao versus Yordenis Ugas. Needless to say, I'm really surprised by how this fight went, man. I didn't really think Yordenis Ugas was anything for Pacquiao. I looked at Yordenis Ugas' fight, saw some film studies, and for me, he was just too basic, too upright, too predictable, too slow, and I just felt that Pacquiao would be too fast, too sharp, even at 42 years old, and I thought that Pacquiao was going to dominate the fight and win by decision. The fight was incredibly close. A lot of people, including the commentators, I was watching it with the Sky Sports commentators, and yeah, they had Yordenis Ugas clearly winning. I thought the fight was very close and very hard to score. And if it had gone to Pacquiao or had been a draw, I wouldn't have argued. But I have no argument with Ugas getting the decision, because it was a situation where you basically had quality over quantity. You know, Pacquiao was landing more shots and throwing a lot more, whereas Ugas, everything he threw was with conviction, and everything he landed was just more. You know, there was more meaning behind his punches. You know, he was just that little bit more accurate. He was throwing the more meaningful shots. You know, he wasn't really wasting anything, so it was more quality over quantity. And one of the things that really surprised me about the fight was the approach that Manny Pacquiao took. Pacquiao was incredibly tense. I noticed it right away in the first round that Pacquiao was just so tense. He was so overly eager to try and force a stoppage. You know, he was coming out there like bam, throwing those really sharp, explosive combinations, and that's all well and good. But when you're fighting a guy like Ugas, who's big, who's never been who's never been stopped before. He has been dropped a few times, but he's never been stopped. Who's obviously very long, obviously who's going to take his time. You know, there's no pressure on him. You would expect Pacquiao, with so much experience, having been 12 rounds on so many occasions, you know, being such a seasoned professional who knows his way around the ring and has been in the game for so long, you would expect Manny Pacquiao to be a little bit more cautious in the first round. You would have expected him to be a little bit more patient and just settle down a little bit. I mean, he's been out of the ring for 2 years. He's obviously going to be a bit rusty, so you would have expected him to just settle into the fight and, you know, not really be too overly eager and just take his time. But for whatever reason, Pacquiao was just so determined to really put on a show and really run over Ugas, and that was never going to happen. Okay, Ugas is a big guy. Okay, as limited as he is, in my opinion, he's big, all right, and he's never been stopped before, right, and he's a world champion. So the guy, I mean, he went 12 rounds with Sean Porter and arguably beat him. So the guy's obviously got some ability, and I would have thought Pacquiao would have just taken his time and just looked to win rounds and not really overly exert himself. And when it comes to his explosive combinations, just wait for the later rounds. But for whatever reason, Manny just seemed so eager to really put it on Ugas, and Ugas was fantastic. I mean, he was on the back foot from as early as the second round, sort of controlling Manny with the jab. His jab was very accurate, and he was setting it up nice, and he was switching the speeds on it. He was targeting the right hand to the body, and he was throwing it low on occasion. There were several low blows from Ugas, which I wasn't a fan of, but yeah, he was kind of winding up on that uppercut, and occasionally he'd throw it to the body, but he would also stray low with it, and he got warned several times by the referee for throwing the body shot low. And he was definitely affecting Manny. I think Manny was a little bit winded on a couple of occasions. He also got pushed to the canvas on a couple of occasions, and I think that Ugas was just trying to show that he was the bigger man, the stronger man, and he was like, I'm going to push this little guy around, and Manny kind of fell for those traps. And again, that's what I'm struggling to get my head around. Okay, I'm really tired. You know, it's bloody 6 in the morning right now where I am, and yeah, I stayed up for this fight, and I don't know, man, I'm really shocked by how Manny approached the fight. I wasn't expecting him to be so eager, and I wasn't expecting Ugas to be so patient. You know, I thought that Ugas would have been a little bit less coordinated than he was, but again, maybe Ugas has been preparing for Pacquiao the whole time, and maybe the Spence fight was just a sort of a bait and switch. I don't know, but again, that's all speculation. I've no idea. It could just be that Ugas is the best kept secret in boxing. Who knows? Maybe he's better than we all thought. He's definitely better than I thought. So Yeah, good performance by Ugas. It was a close fight. It was very competitive. I know that Sky are trying to say that Pacquiao got schooled and all. No, he didn't get schooled. It was very close. He hurt Ugas several times. He started the fight very fast. Got off, like I said, got off to a very quick start. He clearly won the first round. He pretty much dominated. I think I can remember he dominated the fifth round, a couple of the mid rounds. I thought he just completely outworked Ugas, but Pacquiao's 42 years old. He doesn't have the stamina or the reflexes that he used to have, so the work rate isn't going to be there. The explosiveness isn't going to be what it was. He used to be able to throw punches like that for all 12 rounds, whereas he can only do that in a few rounds nowadays. He's a guy who has to pace himself over 12 rounds, so in my opinion, it was a poor performance by Pacquiao in the sense that he should know better, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. I thought Ugas boxed very well, despite him being a little bit dirty here and there, but hey, it's to be expected. What do you think he was going to do? And yeah, he was definitely a lot better technically than I thought he was. His technique's not the best, but he was very, very good at sort of keeping Pacquiao on the outside with a jab and then sort of feinting like he was going to throw a straight punch and then winging the right hand past Pacquiao's guard. He was quite good at that. And Pacquiao, to me, just looked... He looked a little bit more soft than he has in the past. He wasn't as ripped. I noticed that at the weigh-in. Pacquiao didn't really look as ripped as he usually does. And maybe the layoff affected him more than I anticipated. But at the end of the day, look, he's 42 years old. You can't expect much from a 42-year-old. You really can't. So that's all I've got to say. Pacquiao should retire. I don't want to see him fight Josh Taylor. I don't want to see him fight Crawford. I don't want to see him fight guys that are half his age and twice his size anymore. I don't want to see that. I'd like to see the legend retire and, yeah, become maybe president of the Philippines. So, yeah, God bless Manny Pacquiao. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. God bless.